The rain poured hard against the windows of Maplewood Diner, blurring the world outside like an old watercolor painting. Inside, the warm scent of bacon and coffee filled the air. Emma tightened her ponytail and tucked her apron string with a sigh. It had already been a long day, and it wasn't even noon. At just 23, Emma had lived a life most people would not believe. A single mom, a full-time waitress, and barely surviving each week. Her baby girl, Lily, was her world, the only light left after everything else had fallen apart. Her boss, Mike, had been kind enough to let her bring Lily to work. But there was a rule. The baby had to stay in the back kitchen, quietly tucked away in a carrier. "I run a diner, not a daycare," he had said. But even Mike could not ignore the look in Emma's eyes, that desperate kind of love only a mother knows. So every morning, Emma would kiss her daughter's soft forehead, gently set her down in the carrier behind the swinging kitchen doors, and whisper, "Mommy's right here, okay? Just a few hours, baby." On this particular Tuesday, business was slow. The rain had scared most folks away. Emma wiped down tables, stole glances at the kitchen door, and tried to ignore the dull ache in her feet. Then, the bell above the diner door jingled. In walked a man she had never seen before. He was tall, maybe in his 50s, with silver hair combed neatly and eyes that missed nothing. His coat was expensive, his shoes polished, and he carried himself like someone used to making big decisions. But there was something tired about him, like he had been running from something for years. He took a seat in the corner booth, away from the windows. Emma approached, not expecting much. "Coffee?" she asked with a tired smile. He looked up at her and nodded. "Black. No sugar." His voice was calm, low, but powerful. As she poured his coffee, he asked, "Busy morning?" Emma chuckled nervously. "Not really. Just juggling life and work. I have got my little one in the back. My boss lets me keep her here during my shifts." Charles nodded politely, but said nothing more. His expression did not change, though his eyes followed her closely as she returned behind the counter. Minutes passed. Then Emma rushed to the back kitchen during her short break to check on Lily, like she always did. She cracked the door open just enough to peek inside. The baby cooed softly, still wrapped up and wearing her usual tiny necklace, an old, rose gold locket that Emma had worn since she was a teenager. What she did not notice was that the door stayed open, just long enough. From the booth in the corner, Charles Bennett caught a glimpse of the child, and then he froze. The baby's locket, small, delicate, with a tiny flower carved into it, shimmered in the kitchen light. Charles felt the blood drain from his face. His heart pounded against his ribs. That locket. It was his. He'd had it made 24 years ago for his infant daughter. A daughter who was taken from him during a custody battle, lost in a storm of lawyers, courtrooms, and one tragic mistake that led to a botched adoption. He had searched, for years, for her. And now, sitting in a random diner in a quiet town on a rainy afternoon, he had just seen it. Around the neck of a baby. His granddaughter. He did not move, did not speak, just stared at his cup, now cold, as questions raced through his mind. Could it really be her? Emma? His daughter? The resemblance, her age, her eyes, and that locket. It was too much to be coincidence. Charles Bennett, billionaire real estate mogul, had come to this town to escape the noise of his life. But fate had other plans. The storm outside rumbled louder, thunder echoing like distant drums. Inside the diner, Charles sat frozen. The sound of clinking dishes and quiet conversation faded into the background. All he could see was the shimmer of that locket. And the past, it dragged with it. His fingers twitched around the coffee cup. He had not touched his drink since Emma vanished behind the kitchen doors, He did not know how to ask, or even where to begin, but he had to know the truth. When Emma returned, brushing rain from her sleeves, he cleared his throat. "Excuse me," he said, his voice softer this time. "That necklace I saw, the one your baby's wearing." Emma blinked, caught off guard. "Oh, Lily's locket?" He nodded, trying to stay calm. "It's unusual. Where did you get it?" Emma shifted awkwardly, glancing back toward the kitchen door like someone might be listening. She was not used to strangers asking personal questions, especially not rich-looking ones. "I have had it since I was little," she said carefully. "Actually, I do not even remember where it came from. I was adopted. Social worker gave it to me when I turned 18. Said it was the only thing I had on me when they found me as a baby." Charles's breath caught. He leaned in slightly, his voice barely more than a whisper now. "Do you know anything about your birth parents?" Emma's smile faltered. "Not really. I used to wonder when I was younger. But now, life's too busy for dreams. I have got a baby to raise and bills to pay." Charles looked down, his throat thick with emotion. All these years, all the lawyers, investigators, dead ends. And here she was, living paycheck to paycheck, smiling through pain, never knowing someone had been looking for her. He wanted to blurt it out, tell her everything, that she was his, that she was not alone. But he did not. Not yet. Not without proof. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small card. "I own a real estate firm," he lied, not wanting to reveal too much. "I am just passing through, but may I leave you my contact info?" Emma glanced at the card. "Sure. But why?" Charles smiled gently. "Something about you reminds me of someone I once knew. That's all." She tucked the card in her apron. "Okay. Thanks, I guess." That night, Charles returned to his hotel room, his mind racing. He couldn't sleep. Instead, he called a private lab he trusted. "I need a DNA test," he said, "as soon as possible." By morning, he was back at the diner, ordering another coffee, sitting at the same booth, quietly slipping a napkin Emma had touched into a sealed bag. It took 2 days. 2 long, aching days. When the results came, they hit him like a bolt of lightning. Paternity match. 99.9% Emma was his daughter. Charles sat in his hotel room, staring at the paper in his shaking hands. He could still see the baby's soft cheeks, her tiny fingers wrapped around that locket. His granddaughter. And Emma, his little girl, the one he had lost in a custody mess no one could clean up, was alive, grown, a mother, strong, brave. Tears rolled down his face for the first time in years. He stood, grabbed his coat, and stepped into the rain again. This time, not as a customer, but as a father. The rain had eased into a soft drizzle by the time Charles stepped out of the black car and onto the cracked pavement outside the diner. The old sign above the door flickered slightly, casting a warm glow onto the wet sidewalk. In his hand, he clutched the DNA results, folded neatly, but trembling with each gust of wind. He was not just here for a cup of coffee anymore. He was here for Emma. Emma had just clocked out. Her feet ached, her apron was damp from the morning rush, and all she wanted was to curl up with Lily, at home. She cradled the baby carrier in her arms as she stepped onto the porch of her small duplex. The leaky gutter dripped steadily beside the door. Then she saw him, the man from the diner, standing there on her doorstep, soaked but with a look that told her this was not about coffee or tips. "Mr. Bennett?" she asked, confused. "Is everything okay?" He did not speak at first, just looked at her, looked at Lily. His eyes glistened with something heavy. "Can I come in?" he asked, softly. Please, just for a moment? Emma hesitated. She had every reason to say no, but something in his voice, tired, pleading, familiar, made her step aside. He entered slowly, almost reverently, like he was stepping into a place sacred. His eyes scanned the photos on the wall, mostly of Lily, none of family, none of Emma as a child. It only made the knot in his chest tighten. Emma set the baby carrier down, and Lily stirred, letting out a soft whimper. Charles knelt slowly beside her. Hi there, he whispered to the baby. You do not know me yet, but I think I have known you my whole life. Emma stood behind him, arms crossed, confusion growing. What is this? She asked. Charles turned to her, pulling the folded document from his coat. His hands were shaking as he held it out. I had a DNA test run, he said, from something you touched at the diner. I know it sounds crazy, but I had to know. Emma's eyes narrowed. Know what? He swallowed hard. You're my daughter. The room went silent. Emma did not speak, did not move. She stared at the paper in his hand like it was a weapon. Her heart thundered in her ears. What are you talking about? She whispered. He explained everything. The custody battle, the lost adoption records, the years of searching, the custom locket, the same one now resting on Lily's tiny chest. Emma sat slowly on the edge of the couch, her hands trembling. You are saying I am your daughter? Charles nodded, tears in his eyes. I never stopped looking for you. I thought I had lost you forever. Emma shook her head, overwhelmed. Why now? Why come here after all this time? Because I did not know where you were, he said. Not until I saw your baby. That necklace. It was like seeing a ghost. I knew. I felt it. Emma looked down at Lily, asleep again. The baby's chest rose and fell gently beneath the rose-gold locket. Something in her heart cracked open. Old questions, childhood dreams, the ache of not knowing where she came from. She had that answer now. Still, she was not sure how to feel. You think you can just show up and fix everything? She said, her voice thick with emotion. Charles stepped forward, slow and honest. I do not want to fix everything. I just want a chance to get to know you, to be part of your life, yours and Lily's. Not because I am rich, not because I feel guilty, but because I have missed too many birthdays already. Emma looked up, her eyes softening. I am not looking for money. I know, he said, smiling gently. That is how I knew you were my daughter. Tears spilled down her cheeks, and Charles stepped closer, opening his arms. She hesitated only a moment before letting herself fall into the hug, the kind she had not felt in over 20 years. He held her tight, careful not to let the paper fall, and for the first time in a long, long time, Emma felt seen, like she was not just a waitress, or a tired mom, or a girl with no past. She was a daughter. She was loved. And as Charles knelt once more to kiss his granddaughter's forehead, he whispered, Welcome home, both of you.